Once upon a time, in a peaceful village nestled at the edge of rolling hills and thick forests, there lived an energetic dog named Ziggy. Ziggy was no ordinary dog. His sleek fur shone like polished gold, and his eyes sparkled with the curiosity and determination that came from a life filled with endless adventures. His boundless energy was the talk of the village. While most dogs napped during the day, Ziggy was always exploring, chasing, and discovering the world around him. Ziggy's owner, a kind and elderly man named Mr. Thompson, was a retired schoolteacher. He loved Ziggy more than anything, though sometimes he found it hard to keep up with the dog's never-ending enthusiasm. Mr. Thompson lived in a small stone cottage surrounded by wildflowers, where Ziggy had acres of land to roam freely. The cottage was their cozy retreat, nestled between the edge of a vast forest and a sparkling river that zigzagged through the valley. One particularly beautiful morning, the sun rose early, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold. Ziggy, feeling the rush of a new day, leapt out of his bed before Mr. Thompson even had time to pour his morning tea. His nose twitched with excitement. Something in the air was different, something special was about to happen, but Ziggy didn't know what it was. He bounded out of the door and into the lush fields, his legs moving faster than the wind. Mr. Thompson smiled, shaking his head as he watched his lively companion dash into the distance. Ziggy sprinted through the wildflower fields, chasing the scent of the wind, feeling the soft earth under his paws. He ran toward the nearby woods, a place he often explored. But today, something strange caught his attention. Just before the entrance to the forest, Ziggy stumbled upon a glimmering object half buried in the ground. Intrigued, he pawed at the earth, uncovering a small, ornate key. The key was unlike anything Ziggy had ever seen. It was gold and seemed to glow in the morning light, its surface covered in strange symbols and intricate patterns. Ziggy nudged the key with his nose, puzzled by its presence. Where had it come from? Why was it here? He gently picked it up in his mouth and carried it back home. When Ziggy arrived at the cottage, Mr. Thompson was just finishing his tea. "What have you found now, Ziggy?" Mr. Thompson asked, looking at the key in Ziggy's mouth. He carefully took the key and examined it. His brow furrowed as he turned it over in his hands. "This is quite unusual," he muttered. "I've never seen anything like this before." That night, as the fire crackled in the hearth and the moon rose high in the sky, Ziggy lay on his bed, staring at the mantel where Mr. Thompson had placed the key. Ziggy felt an overwhelming sense of adventure welling up inside him. His dreams that night were vivid and strange, filled with visions of hidden doors, secret passages, and undiscovered treasures. The next morning, Ziggy could hardly contain his excitement. He woke before dawn, barking excitedly at Mr. Thompson's bedroom door, urging him to get up. Mr. Thompson chuckled. "You and that key, Ziggy. All right, let's go see if we can find where it leads." They set off toward the woods with Ziggy leading the way, his tail wagging furiously. As they reached the edge of the forest, something strange happened. Ziggy paused, his ears perking up, and his nose twitching in anticipation. Mr. Thompson followed his gaze and noticed something he hadn't seen before. A small, ancient-looking door nestled into the side of a large oak tree. The door was overgrown with vines and moss, almost completely hidden from view. It was old and weathered, but the lock on it was pristine, as if it had just been placed there. Mr. Thompson pulled the golden key from his pocket, his hands trembling slightly with excitement. Could this be where the key fit? With a deep breath, Mr. Thompson inserted the key into the lock and turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a dark tunnel that seemed to stretch on forever into the earth. Ziggy, without hesitation, darted inside, his body disappearing into the shadows before Mr. Thompson could call him back. "Ziggy, wait!" Mr. Thompson shouted, lighting a lantern he had brought with him. He hurried into the tunnel after his dog, his heart pounding with both excitement and fear. The tunnel walls were cool and damp, and the air smelled of earth and stone. Ziggy's paws echoed off the stone as he continued to dash ahead. After what felt like an eternity of walking, the narrow tunnel finally opened up into a vast underground chamber. Ziggy stood in the center of the room, his eyes wide with awe. The chamber was filled with strange artifacts, old scrolls, golden relics, and strange glowing orbs. But at the far end of the room stood something that caught both Ziggy's and Mr. Thompson's attention immediately. It was another door, but this one was grand and imposing, carved from dark wood and adorned with ancient symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light of the lantern. Above the door, in large letters, was an inscription neither Ziggy nor Mr. Thompson could understand, but they felt the weight of its importance. Ziggy approached the door cautiously, sniffing the air around it. His instincts told him that beyond this door was something extraordinary. Mr. Thompson stood beside him, running his hand along the intricate carvings. "Whatever's beyond here," he said softly, "it's something truly special." The door didn't have a lock this time. Instead, there was a small indentation in the center, shaped exactly like the key Ziggy had found. Mr. Thompson took a deep breath and placed the key into the indentation. As soon as he did, the door began to glow brightly, and with a loud, echoing creak, it slowly swung open. What lay beyond the door was beyond anything Ziggy or Mr. Thompson could have ever imagined. The door opened into a breathtaking underground world. It was a vast, hidden valley bathed in a soft golden light. Towering trees with shimmering leaves stretched toward the sky, and strange, glowing plants dotted the landscape. A crystal-clear river flowed through the valley, its waters sparkling like diamonds in the golden light. Ziggy, ever the explorer, bounded forward, his paws moving faster than ever as he dashed through the glowing trees and over the sparkling river. The air was filled with the sound of birds singing sweet, unfamiliar melodies, and the entire valley seemed to hum with life and magic. Mr. Thompson, too, was in awe of the sight before him. He followed Ziggy, his eyes wide with wonder. "This place," he whispered. It's like a dream." As they ventured deeper into the valley, they came across a large, shimmering lake at its center. The water was so clear that they could see all the way to the bottom, where strange, colorful fish swam lazily among the rocks and plants. But what caught Ziggy's attention wasn't the fish or the lake, or even the shimmering light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was a figure standing at the edge of the lake, watching them. The figure was tall and cloaked in a long flowing robe that shimmered in the golden light. They didn't seem threatening, just curious. Ziggy, always friendly, wagged his tail and trotted toward the figure, barking softly in greeting. The figure knelt down, reaching out a hand to pet Ziggy's head. "Welcome, brave traveler," the figure said softly. Their voice was gentle, like the rustling of leaves in the wind. "You have found the hidden valley of Lumina, a place few have ever discovered." Mr. Thompson approached cautiously, still in awe of everything around him. "Lumina?" he asked. "What is this place?" The figure smiled kindly. "Lumina is a secret world, hidden away from the rest of the world. It is a place of magic and mystery, where time flows differently, and where those who find it can experience wonders beyond their wildest dreams." Ziggy barked happily, wagging his tail as if to say, "I knew it was something special." The figure stood and gestured toward the valley. "You are welcome to explore and stay as long as you wish. Lumina has much to offer those with the heart of an adventurer." And so Ziggy and Mr. Thompson spent what felt like days exploring the hidden valley of Lumina. They discovered incredible creatures, strange plants that glowed with a soft light, and ancient relics that told stories of a forgotten world. Ziggy, with his endless energy and curiosity, was in his element, racing through the valley, making new discoveries at every turn. Eventually, though, the time came to leave. As much as they wanted to stay in Lumina forever, they knew they had to return home. The figure from the lake appeared once more, this time at the entrance to the hidden valley. "You are always welcome here, Ziggy and Mr. Thompson," the figure said kindly. "The key will always guide you back when you are ready for another adventure." With a final grateful look at the Valley of Lumina, Ziggy and Mr. Thompson stepped through the door and back into the tunnel. As the door closed behind them, the key in Mr. Thompson's pocket glowed faintly before disappearing, leaving only the memory of their incredible adventure.